Greetings to all Africans. Kudobi, Maroon Metale in the phone language. We are His Imperial Majesty Axosu Àgèlògbàgàn Agbovi the Gunlodo Hosu, the paramount monarch of Gunlodo, founder of the first Aja culture monarch in North America, in the Americas in general. We want to speak to you briefly about the concept of Gla. Gla in the phone language, Aja phone language, means power. So as African people, as especially African men, we like to, when we say we just, these are general statements, but we see people, bragging about, their this and that, what they have. Then on another level, people that are cultural, they're, they say they're cultural, and they brag about how powerful Africa was and can be, that we're gods and goddesses, kings and queens, that type of thing. We see a lot of quotes on Facebook and various places about, power, having power, who we really are, what we can do as African people. We have said for years that the only way that we can employ that power that, seems to lie so dormant in us this day, is to live and employ and deploy culture, living African traditions of our West African and Central West African heritage. And some of them are South African also. So they have to be functional. They have to be done from a perspective of intent. This leads us directly to our point. There's nothing wrong with festivals, singing for the deities, dancing for the deities. But at some point you have to say, and this is the pink elephant in the room, it seems like, because, it's only one person, there's usually one person that says, hey, do y'all see that big old pink elephant over there? I'm pretty sure everybody else does, but it's always that one person. So this is one of those many pink elephants that we've peeped out, if you will, in African tradition, over the years in particular, and we'll let you know where we're going with this. Now, before we go any further, we will remind people, because people tend to pick things out of videos and articles and so we're going to reiterate, we are 1,000% involved in our culture. We're saying this because of what we're about to say. We're 200,000%. We at the monarchy of Gunlodo even have the policy, when it's possible, to wear African clothing every day. And this is new to some people. They have to get their wardrobe up, if you will. So, but as much as possible, African foods, as much as possible. We like to have a majority African food diet, and that we definitely believe in eating healthy in whatever we eat, So that means, not so much red palm oil, because that could be detrimental to you after some time. But red palm oil is good for you. It's good for you, but then it can end up being something else. Maybe another video, another subject, definitely. We 100%, we don't believe in the deities. We don't believe in anything in Vodun, in real African culture. We know the deities. We know in. We don't believe in, we know in. So, we're making that very clear. We're strong in our priesthoods, in our monarchy, and in our just way of living, which is body culture and doing family development and nation building, seeking sovereignty based on with that enveloping us. Now, that being said, we've been kind of we're back kind of fresh, kind of new to social media, and we see nothing is new except for the acceleration of delusion and degeneracy. So there's nothing in the years we were gone that's new, especially fresh and exciting. But that being said, going to our direct subject, Gla, power. We see a lot of people in our tradition online, whether they be from the continent of Mawufe, Africa, or whether they are Mawufe Numeto Yoyo, New African. And New African is a person descendant of those captives that were sold into captivity and shipped to various places around the world. So we see a lot of practitioners, as they call themselves, in these traditions talking about the power of the deities. You know, in particular the people on the continent, our brothers and sisters on the continent, they talk a lot about the power of the deities. Like, this deity is very powerful. This deity can do this deity can do that. And the like. And you see some of that with the New Africans, but it's kind of expressed a little bit different. But it's the same spirit. And same spirit basically meaning along the same lines of braggadocio. It's almost like hip hop. You know. Now, these deities are powerful. We've witnessed them up close. You know. If people, some people are very skeptical about things, and let's say we were one of them. If we have at least 100 reasons to believe in our traditions from what we've seen by experience, not what was written online and books. So they are very powerful. But here's the catch-22. So it's a lot of times when you go to Mawufe, and we've seen it up close, to like these festivals, especially when you're dealing with a deity like Àgèlògbàgàn, deity of lightning and thunder, rain. In that aspect, he's called Jisovi, one of the family deities of our family lineage of the house of the Ram, the royal house of the Ram, Àgèlògbàgàn. We see a lot of tricks being displayed by the priests, the initiates of these deities like Shango and Àgèlògbàgàn, sometimes, Ogun also, to show how powerful the deity is. And it's stuff like walking on coals, swallowing fire, spitting fire that seems to come out of nowhere, fire. And all of that's cute for children. It's kind of like, the Christian Bible. It's cute for white folks telling bedtime stories for their children. That's what the Judeo-Christian book should be used for. White folks telling bedtime stories to their children, just like the other bedtime stories they tell and lies that cover up real truths. So it looks like we have our version of that too, right? People doing tricks in the name of the deity to show how powerful the deity is or to prove their personal power. A lot of it is ego. They're trying to prove that they're the most powerful Shango priest or the most powerful Àgèlògbàgàn priest. But the key word is power, Gla, power. Now, as New Africans and the younger continental Africans are questioning, if the deities are so powerful, why are we in the condition that we're in today? Why is white supremacy allowed, if you are a nationalist or some kind of way with what is called black conscious or woke or whatever term they're using today? Why is white supremacy allowed to run amok? Why are the yovo being white folks in this particular case? Yovo in the Aja phone language is any non-African, but in particular Europeans. So why is the yovo allowed to run amok with white supremacy? The Chinese yovo is allowed to not only come in and start taking over Africa, but start demanding that you teach Chinese to your children in Africa. Like, this is required in certain places of East Africa at this moment. And the Chinese haven't been there that long with that kind of presence. And they've already established things like that. Things like Africans can work in the restaurant, but they cannot come after 6 o'clock at night. This is in Kenya. If the deities are so powerful, why is this happening? We'll tell you why. Because the people in this tradition are more concerned about the culture of appearances, looking good, the coral beads, like right here, the Betia Jai had, the cloth, the festivals, showing off that you can swallow fire, spit fire, walk on coals, shrink a masquerade down, all the way down flat. Like, how do you do that? That's powerful. That's amazing. That same technology that you're using to spit the fire, to walk on the coals, to shrink down the masquerade, to make the masquerade spin in one place without even getting dizzy, is the same technology you should be using to spin the yovo out of control, to spin the yovo Chinese away from Mawufe, to spin the yovo off his or her rocker here in the Americas, disorient them and go take over their chair. That same fire that you're spitting when you display it in front of Shango, Kawo Kabisi, and Hevioso. That same fire that you're spitting to show out, to entertain all those yovos that are around you over there at those festivals in Maufe, and the ones of you over here in America that do it too. It's that same fire that you should be spitting at the enemy, the external enemy and the internal enemy. Yes, there are enemies that look like us. Once we remove them, liberation, sovereignty becomes a little bit more attainable and clearer, because often they are the block. The point is that we have this public announcement, public service message for all the priests, priestesses, initiates, those that know what they're doing, those that think they know what they're doing in the tradition, whether you're initiated or not. Quit talking about how powerful these deities are when you're not employing them for their proper power. When you're not, you say Ogun is the deity of paths, blah, blah. Everybody knows that. He owns the path. We call him Onapade. Ogun Alake, which is an esoteric name. Those that know what we're talking about know what that means. We know all of that. These are simple 101 basics. We have not gotten, since the culture was introduced into North America in really in the 50s, but 1959 proper. We have not gotten over African tradition 101 yet. So you're talking about power. You're talking about what these deities can do. This deity, this can do this and that. And I'm looking at the condition in not only your neighborhood, how it looks, or your house, how your house looks. I'm looking at the condition of your family and your ori, your mental. So the deity either is not that powerful, and here's where we at. This is the catch-22. Now, that's why we said earlier, we're 100% with our tradition. Either the deity is not that powerful like you're saying, or you're not using that deity for the proper things. It's one of the two. Because nothing is changing amongst African people with the flocks and flocks and flocks of people that's running to, especially Sheshe tradition of the Yoruba, and Vodun, and the Akofo tradition of Akan, the Akan people. With all of these droves of people coming to the tradition, been in the tradition 30 years and all that, nothing has changed. Things are getting worse. Africa, they got an issue where a lot of them have turned their backs on the deity. That's one thing. So you got your issue of turning your back on the deities, which should be obvious consequences going through your head about that. And then you have also the issue of those that have returned, like the new Afrikan here in the Americas, misusing the deities and misrepresenting the deities, and that goes across both continents, both sides, east and west. So power, yeah, it's there, but it has to be employed. A car is not going to move unless you crank it up and drive it off. It has the potential to go as long as however much fuel it has. However, it's not moving. So you talking about that car, and you need to go to work. That don't match up. What you do, you get in it, you use the car for what you bought it for. You go to work, you get to work, you get there preferably on time. So we would kindly and humbly ask people to sit back and stop talking about the power of the deities when you're not using it in a way to get oppression off of you, to nation build, to get the oppressor off of you and up out of here, to totally eliminate white supremacy and Asian supremacy and their presence, from Maufad and wherever you may reside, whether it's their presence, meaning physically and in your head, because many put on, as they say, the garb of Africa. They put on the physical clothing garb, start reading all these books, talking a different way, using certain terms they never used before. That's cool. But in their head, there's still a plethora of yovo speaking to them. Some of them are ancestral. Yeah. A lot of the problems you have in your relationships are because one or both persons are listening to yovo ancestors. A lot, not all. Because we are very well acquainted with the spirit of science, the science of spirit rather, and in that, breaking it even further, the ancestral cosmology of it, but that's another thing. Also, it's a little bit away from what we're talking about. We are trying to get people to say, look, I'm talking about what this deity can do, and that deity and the power of our ancestors, but it's not being used. And guess what, people? One or two people can't do it by themselves. So the effect has to come from a collective. The purpose of this video is to reach a collective to say that. Because we here at Gun Lodo, we're doing all the things we said in the video. And of course, there are more things that will be revealed to us, or we will come to light on within self, or through our ancestors, that, they will say, hey, you need to do more. You need to do this, you need to do that. And we will do that. But at least we got the ball rolling pretty good. However, we're only one monarchy. The Ile down the street is only one Ile, or the Ile wherever, we see, just metaphorically saying, what the Vodun Hall down the street. It's just one Vodun Hall, one temple, one group. The Egbe in Tennessee, that's only one Egbe. Now, we have to collectively, even if we don't do them directly together, but we have to collectively be doing these things, creating an energy. That's just like the Jews of Israel, of the modern Jews of Israel. They created an energy that's self-propelling. We haven't done that because we're happy with looking good at a festival. The sisters, with the biggest head wrap gele on, the brothers coming in with the big agbada, looking a certain way. 30 or 40 beads around their neck. They don't know the meaning of the beads. Don't know that those beads were used during the captivity trade. Most of those beads, those little round beads like that the Khan people wear, Orisha people, Haitian Vodun people wear, and some of them in West Africa, those are trade beads. Those are slave beads. Those beads were not made in Maufe. These corals are corals. Crobo, this green and yellow, that's definitely made by the Crobo people. Hence the name Crobo. Crobo people in Ghana, which are akin to the Akan people. And these beads are for royals. However, there are other beads locally made that are indigenous to Africa, like the Agbovi bead. There are many beads, that we used to wear before we started wearing those cheap, because those beads were very cheap for the European, and they exchanged them for African people. And clown chiefs and kings and queens and whatever fell for that and started getting those beads and selling their own people for that. Stuff like umbrella, third-rate rum, not second-rate, third-rate rum. The Portuguese sold back to Dahomey and Badagry, in different places in West Africa and Congo. So quit talking about the power of the deities. Stop it. Because you're not using it. When you start using it for the right thing, at least speaking on it. Speech can be a vehicle. But you're not. We talked to somebody recently. They were talking about how powerful a particular deity is. And I'm looking at his village. I'm looking at his village, and I know the history of his village, the monarchy that his village is a part of. And I know for a fact that didn't always look like that. That was a glorious looking place before self-degeneration. So the power of the deity, once again, either that deity is not powerful or you're using it the wrong way. And of course we go with the latter, because we know that the deities are powerful. We've seen what they can do on a local level. However, this is a collective thing in one way or another. If we are to obtain the degrees of sovereignty and freedom that we say that we are about. So, real Gla is employed, and it is employed to get whatever is ailing you off of you. Not just a personal thing, not just getting some money on a personal level, money rituals, relationship rituals, all that. It's about getting the yovo off of you and out of your way, taking back the reins of who you are, sovereignty, right? Like Palmares, before they lost their way. And Palmares is the Quilombo that was in Cuba. Family development, nation building. That's when you can start bragging on the power of a deity. Other than that, it's nothing much you really need to be saying. You can check out our site, Quilombo Restoration and Healing. Our publications are at Quilombo Restoration and Healing at restorationhealing.com, restorationhealing.com. Our monarchy is the Maroon, Quilombo monarchy of Ganlodo. Quilombo is a way to say Maroon. It is ganlodokingdom.com. That's GANLODO kingdom.com. Odipa.